fine.
Thank you very much for having me, Luis. Thank you, David, for having me. I apologize for not being able to have a video. Our network, our internet is constantly being blocked. And as my brother here explained, we're trying to use VPN to get through. And I hope you can hear me clearly.
We can hear you fine. Please go ahead.
Sure, I am glad. Uganda is 48 hours away from a life-changing election, from the election of a president. I am a presidential candidate, although together with other opposition leaders will continue to face unprecedented brutality and oppression. As we speak right now, other candidates are campaigning, but I am not allowed to campaign. And that was officially communicated to me by the Electoral Commission, which is supposed to be independent. It asked me to sign a memorandum of understanding, which details I didn't know with it, which is illegal. But also, General Museveni, who has been in power for 35 years, will not allow any voice that is different from his. That is why the military has been deployed massively all over town, all over the streets. All our supporters are being arrested. My entire campaign team, to the tune of 300 people, is under military incarceration. Just yesterday, one of our team members was shot dead by the military, and this morning, the military has raided my house and arrested 2 of my gardeners and my guard here at home. So that being as it is, we are aware that the people of Uganda are going to turn out
I at least cannot hear you any longer. Frau Flüger, hören Sie ihn noch?
Nein, auch nicht. Let me try send him a message in the chat. Looks like we lost connection again.
Jetzt scheint er zurückzukommen.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Am I
lost
back?
you, but I think you're on now again. Please.
I'm sorry. I was trying to say, if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm trying to say that the people of Uganda appreciate the relationship that we have in Germany, that we have with the people of Germany, and the diplomatic relationship that the government of Uganda has with Germany. But again, it is the hope and prayer of the people of Uganda that we don't only share trade, we don't only receive aid from Germany, but we want to be sharing the same values, values like respect for human rights, values like respect for the rule of law, values like respect and appreciation for the democratic principles that binds us together as humanity. Otherwise, we are aware that Germany has ever put its feet down when Uganda was abusing rights of people, and that alone holds General Museveni in order. It calls him to order, and he knows. So it's important that we request the administration in Germany to always make the respect for human rights and the rule of law a precondition for cooperation with Uganda. Otherwise, if this that is happening in Uganda, the constant extrajudicial killings, and if General Museveni continues to get away with it, then the people of Uganda see it as if the development partners are abetting their oppression, as if they are partners in crime. it is the development partners that have sponsored state-inspired violence. We know that the government of Uganda receive a lot of aid, but let that aid come with conditions so that the people of Uganda get to know that the development partners take their lives seriously.
Thank you very much. I can tell you that we have a number of people from the German administration on, and I think they all heard your plea. Let me maybe come back to the elections in a minute. And since this is, I think, the first time that you are live on in Germany, I would go back a little bit in your career and ask you, you were a popular singer, you didn't have any issues with security or politics. Why did you decide, 3-4 years ago to actually go into politics, and why are you running for president right now?
Thank you very much. I was a popular singer, and in Uganda, you can be free for as long as you only drink and get drunk and don't talk about serious issues. In Uganda, there was a law called the Public Order Management Act. That law did not stop people in gathering in tens of thousands to get drunk and sing and party. But for as long as soon as more than 5 people come together to discuss the future of their country, the police will show up, tear gas them, and beat them. Uganda's, by Uganda's, I mean General Museveni and his government, the priority is making sure that General Museveni keeps in power for life, and everything else is secondary. Art was all right. I was performing and I was not restricted from performing. But as soon as I started talking about the issues like human rights, issues like the rule of law, issues like constitutionalism, then my music was abolished. And that is when I decided to go full throttle and talk about these issues so that I free myself and the people that are being oppressed.
Thank you. Let's have a look, if you agree, at your program. Uganda, I think you will agree, has been relatively stable over the past 35 years, and it's doing better than a number of countries in the region. Economically, the economy has been growing. The international financial institutions were actually quite happy with Uganda. At the same time, the Ugandan economy has not been able to generate the number of jobs that the growing population needs, in particular the young people who are among your supporters. So my question is, what will you do to help create the jobs that are needed, in particular for the young generation? What are your economic beliefs and ideas for the future of Uganda?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that Uganda is viewed as relatively stable and as the anchor of stability, but that stability.
We lost you again. We cannot hear you. Also, meine Damen und Herren, diese Veranstaltung ist nicht ohne gewisse Herausforderungen, wie Sie merken. Immerhin haben wir jetzt noch das Bild.
Comes at the cost, that stability and silencing any voice of this. Hello, can you?
Yeah, we can hear you again. We lost you very early on in your response to my question. You said that you appreciated the stability of Uganda, but and then we lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please.
Sure, I'm sorry, the internet keep breaking off. Kindly bear with me. I was trying to respond to your question, first of all, by appreciating the fact that Uganda has been relatively stable, but that has come at the cost of human rights. And hello?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, please. It has come at the cost of rights, and we view stability because every voice of dissent has been squashed and silenced. And also, us, Uganda being viewed as the anchor of stability, we need to interrogate it further and see, when we interrogate it further, we shall realize that actually Uganda is not innocent of the conflicts that have been spiraled in the neighboring countries, only to come up to pose like we are solving the problems in those countries. Now, the economic development, as a person that lives in Uganda, as a member of the low earning community, because that is where I grew up from, I want to remind us that more than 80% of our people are living below the poverty line. And yes, while while the statistics show economic development, that economic development is not inclusive. It is just a certain class that owns the rest of the country, while the majority continue to languish in poverty. Our economic model, we believe in a free market economy. We believe in empowering people, empowering their abilities, and making sure that even the private sector is empowered and develops.
Thank you. Thank you. You already mentioned Uganda's role in the region. Uganda has been part of AMISOM, has been part of a number of UN peacekeeping missions also. If you become president, how do you see Uganda's role in the region and within Africa?
Uganda will continue to play an important part in peacekeeping missions and in making sure that we maintain stability in the region. But again, we shall also respect the sovereignty of other countries. We shall not do that at the cost of peace at home. While we want to maintain peace in other countries, we don't want to be exporting war. We want to be helping stabilize other countries, but also stabilize our own. We don't want to be warmongers. We don't want to be raiding Congo. We don't want to be raiding Central African Republic or raiding Sudan. But again, it's important that we continue to offer our security excesses to stabilize countries like Somalia. And also we believe in a continued fight against terror as Uganda. But we should do that as a nation. We should use our institutions to do that, not an individual. You will notice that sometimes the parliament disagrees with General Museveni.
Thank you. Are you still on?
Be dealing with those countries, with whoever we deal with as a nation, not General Museveni as an individual.
Thank you. Let me come back to the elections. We are 2 days away from elections, as you mentioned, and as Louis Armsberg has mentioned earlier. The run-up to the election has been marked by a lot of violence by security forces. A number of people have even been killed, among them one of your bodyguards. Journalists have been beaten, people were not allowed to attend rallies, and so on. So let me ask you, what are your expectations as to the conduct of the elections in 2 days? What do you expect to happen on that day, and how will you potentially react to it?
I'm expecting the people of Uganda to turn up in very large numbers to cast their vote. We called upon the people of Uganda 2 years ago to register massively. Many young people were disillusioned and were really largely disconnected from their politics. But now there's a huge interest in politics in Uganda. So we expect the people of Uganda to turn up in large numbers and vote. We've encouraged them to be vigilant, to watch out for any vote rigging, and to use their cameras to ensure that they record every happening, all the events that are going on. And we've also come up with an application called UVote that will help us tally our votes, to tally the results. So we expect the people of Uganda to turn up in large numbers and vote. But again, we also expect brutality from the state, because there has been every effort to discourage and intimidate the people from voting. We know that the military and the police will be on page, they will unleash brutality, but our only weapon is the camera, and we want to ensure that every event is recorded so that we can relay it to the rest of the world. We also know that the Electoral Commission, which is evidently in the firm grip of General Museveni, might want to alter the result. And that is why we are intending to guard it and make sure we have every declaration form, so that even when the Electoral Commission tries to alter the result, there will be a true result that we shall have a copy of.
Could you maybe explain a little bit on that? I think everybody has in mind what happened in the United States, a contested election with a very difficult outcome, with a president who did not concede. This time around in Uganda, the situation is maybe even more difficult since, as you mentioned, the Electoral Commission seems to be relatively close to President Museveni. Are you prepared to accept the Electoral Commission's result as they will declare them, or are you planning to declare yourself the winner? What are your plans?
We are not intending to declare ourselves. We are intending to have factual results, so that even when we challenge whatever falsification might come up, we have credible evidence. So we are intending to have evidence at all levels.
Thank you. Let me ask you a last question before I turn to our audience for questions. You mentioned very early in your statement after you joined us, the international community, and called on the international community on the development partners to condition development aid on human rights and so on. We are very late in the game now, but is there anything the international community can still do to help, the elections to be conducted in a fair and equitable manner?
Sure, the international community can do quite a lot. First of all, we request the international community to keep attention on Uganda. International attention is a lifeline for us. It saves lives. And also to evoke all the legal strains. For example, we requested, and we are very glad that the United States evoked the Global Magnitsky against various human rights abuses in Uganda. There are quite a number of laws that the international community can evoke. But most importantly, we know that aid that is extended to Uganda, if conditions are put on aid, and among the conditions should be as simple as the observation and respect for human rights. It should be respect for the rule of law. It should be respect for democratic principles. If conditions are put on the aid that is being extended to Uganda, we know that our leaders will sober up and know that they are not owners of a plot of land called Uganda, but they are leaders of a country with its citizens, and that country has laws which should be respected.
Thank you very much. I am happy now to invite you to ask questions. I hear that the Member of Parliament, Mr. Hoffmann, is ready to ask a question. Herr Hoffmann, können wir Sie hereinbringen, Frau Flüger? Also,
ja, Sie können, genau.
Sehr gut, Herr Hoffmann, bitte.
Dear Bobi Wine, nice to hear you again. I remember your visit here in Berlin. It was very impressive. And I'm happy that you are still candidate for the presidency in the elections, upcoming elections. My question is now, what is your suggestion regarding international observers in this election? Because EU hasn't sent any, there's several reasons for that, but maybe you can judge whatever is important for you from the international community to improve democracy in Uganda and the human rights situation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Forrest. I appreciate, and it's nice to be talking to you again. I'm aware, sadly, that the EU was not able to send observers, but also to remind all of us that foreign journalists have been deported all along It is until yesterday and maybe the day before yesterday that foreign journalists were cleared to come and cover the electoral process. That happened because General Museveni and his government did not want the international community to know what is going on in Uganda firsthand. He has always been able to deny with impunity all the happenings and all the human rights abuses on his orders. Now that we have international media, we encourage them to cover as far wide as possible. But again, Uganda is a huge country where you find that some areas the international media might not go there. Now that the European Union is not going to observe this election, we want to request as much as possible the foreign journalists and all the foreign dignitaries, the embassies, to at least make an effort to keep an eye on the elections. I know that General Museveni has always been quick to refer that to meddling. As a matter of fact, he has accused myself and my party of being projects of the West. He has accused us for being foreign agents simply because we stand for the same values that probably developed countries are standing for. So apart from calling upon the embassies to be vigilant and to be keen on the happenings in Uganda, there's quite so much that we can do.
Thank you very much. Hoffmann, noch eine Anschlussfrage oder wollen wir weitergehen?
We could, but I think there's a lot of more people having questions. So
ja, dann würde ich Herrn Mutebi einladen, seine Frage zu stellen. Edward Mutebi von der Berliner Zeitung, sind Sie da? Mr. Mutebi, can you hear me? Oh yeah, I think you're being put on. Das dauert immer einen kleinen Moment. Noch können wir Sie nicht hören.
Hello.
Hallo, ja, bitte stellen Sie Ihre Frage.
Yeah, my name is Edward Mutebi. I'm based in Germany. I will use English. I'm a human rights activist and an independent journalist and a writer for The World is Watching International. My question is going to Luis and maybe other members of parliament or people here in Germany. We have seen very limited flow of information about the incidences that have been happening in Uganda. For example, in November, when almost over 100 people were killed, there is none, not even a single newspaper here in Germany that reported about these incidences. I've only seen a news report about the all incidents in Uganda in Deutsche Welle, which happened last week when Bobi Wine was being interviewed and interrupted by police about the ICC issues. So why do you think there is limited flow of information in the German population? And it's only today whereby an article about Bobi Wine has been published in the Berliner Zeitung. And that article, it's me who wrote that article, and I had to push it to be published into the newspapers. Why do you think there is a gap of information flow? And how do you think the German population can react to the things which are happening in the African countries when they are not exposed to the information of the things which are happening in other countries? We have seen only one incident in the USA whereby the Capitol building was attacked, and every newspaper, every news channel was reporting about these incidents. And only 4 people are reported to have been killed in these incidents in the USA. But we are talking about an incident which took over 100+ lives in a country in only 2 days, and nothing is being talked about in these countries. So what do you think is the cause of this? Thank you so much.
Frau Amsberg, wollen Sie antworten?
Yeah, sure. I'm pleased to. I'm not sure if I can answer the question because I'm no journalist. I'm a politician, and as I pointed out before, having this program, parliamentarians protecting parliamentarians, this is one answer we try to do or have for this situation, because I feel you. I mean, there is a lack of information also for me. I'm having contact to maybe Bobi and Bobi's team and of course the German embassy. But when it comes to newspapers and articles about the situation in Uganda, I would say you're right. There is a lack of information. Even though there are some articles and some interest, but it's very small. And I think it's a pity. And we have to raise awareness. And this program we are doing in the German Bundestag is one way to do that. But of course, it's not enough. And I think if you would ask me honestly, I would answer honestly, I would say there is still a lack of interest in Ugandan policy and also when it comes to Africa. So, and yeah, change that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for the answer. I might add that, you know, we feel the same way in a certain way, and that's why we set up this event in order to introduce the situation and the main opposition candidate to the German public. Wir haben jetzt eine Frage von Dr. Herzberger-Folana. Können wir Sie dazuschalten? Noch hören wir Sie nicht und sehen Sie nicht, aber scheint sich in die richtige Richtung zu entwickeln. Und es wäre schön, wenn die Frage an Bobi Wine gerichtet wäre.
Das war gerade weg.
Jetzt hören wir Sie.
Jetzt. Hören Sie mich?
Ja, wir hören Sie.
Yeah. So good afternoon, Mr. Bobi Wine. I am a MP at the European Parliament for the Green Party. And last week, before Christmas holidays, I spoke about the Uganda election and about you. And now my question, what are you expecting from the European Union? And how do you consider the role of the African diaspora in Germany? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, there's quite a lot that one would love to expect from the European Union, but most importantly, we would love to expect attention. Attention, especially in such a very determining time. One of these people that mentioned, indeed, Honorable Louise mentioned it, that there was still a lack of interest in the matters that are happening in Uganda. The people of Uganda are suffering in the dark, and they would really love to have countries that we are having a diplomatic relationship with, like European Union countries, pay attention to the plight of the people of Uganda. To also call the Uganda government to order. It is clear that the Uganda government is behaving the way it's behaving because it is not being called to order. We are possible for sanctions against those leaders that abuse rights. That will be a message to them, the current leaders, and it will also be a message to us, the incoming leaders. We must all be reminded that we do not own these countries. We must all be reminded that we are under the law. We must all be reminded that respect for human rights and the rule of law is at the center of every leadership. So when General Museveni is called to order, it will be a message to even us that are coming into power to know that we cannot abuse the rights of the citizens with impunity.
Thank you very much for the question. Thank you for the answer. Let me maybe briefly follow up and ask you about the African Union. And so far we have spoken about the European Union for obvious reasons, but what do you actually expect from the African Union and from your African neighbors? Has the African Union sent electoral observers, or will they? And what are your expectations as to what the African Union can do to help, to pave the way for elections that are fair and equitable?
Thank you very much. It's absurd that we have not had any information of the African Union sending observers. And in any case, some of the African Union observers that are sent tend to be influenced by by General Museveni. I will reiterate the saying that he who pays the piper calls the tune. General Museveni does not seem to respect any regional bodies or continental bodies, because even when he dismisses them with impunity, even when he despises them, he knows there is no repercussions whatsoever. But he knows that if he does not fill certain conditions with the European Union, then aid would be cut. It is the aid that is supposed to help the people of Uganda develop that is actually being used to stifle them, muzzle them, and oppress them. So that is why we always respond, that is why we always run to the development partners. One would ask why we are not, petitioning the courts, the local courts or the regional courts. But it's clear that General Museveni has taken control of the judiciary, not only in Uganda, but he also influences the judiciary within the region. And that is why we decided to petition the International Criminal Court.
Thank you. I hope you're still on.
Sure, I'm on.
Yeah, very good. Well, thank you, Frau Pflüger. Ich würde vorschlagen, wenn Sie Fragen haben, lassen Sie die Leute gerne rein. Let me briefly follow up again. Just out of curiosity, obviously you're very critical of General Museveni or President Museveni for obvious reasons, and I think we understand and know what you mean. At the same time, many people are pointing to the successes that Uganda has seen over the past 35 years under the rule of General Museveni in terms of economic growth and so on, as I mentioned earlier. Do you feel any sympathy for your opponent also, or do you think he's a tragic figure who maybe just decided to step down too late, or do you just see the political opponent in him?
Thank you very much. I must say that I was once one of the great admirers of General Museveni. I read so much of his books and I appreciated his charisma. General Museveni, when he was my age, he was speaking exactly like me and sounding exactly like me. And I've also saluted the achievements that he and his government got between 1986 and 1996. General Museveni said in one of his maiden speeches that Africa's problem, in fact, he wrote a book called What is Africa's Problem? And indeed, he said Africa's problem in general and Uganda's problem in particular are the leaders that overstay in power. That was 35 years ago. He promised that he would be in power for 4 years and then hand over leadership to a civilian government. That is the General Museveni that we all admired, that we all grew up looking up to. But slowly by slowly, General Museveni got lost in the trappings of power. He slowly by slowly rolled back on all the achievements and all his legacy. It started by him changing the constitution to remove the term limits so that he could run for a third.
I think we lost you again. Mr. Wine, we can't hear you.
Term, and that was after 2005, and that General Museveni reached a time.
We had lost you, but you're back on now.
Yes, please, I'm back. Sorry,
we lost you when you said that you respected what he did until '96, and but then he overstayed in power.
Hello, can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please continue.
Yes, you lost me when I was saying.
That he did well until 96, but then stayed too long, even though he had said that, you know, Africa's problems were leaders who stayed too long.
Yes, please. And I was saying that General Museveni started slowly by slowly rolling back on the achievements and destroying his legacy, and of course showing the future leaders, ourselves, a wrong image of a leader when he changed the constitution to remove the term limits, which was one of the which was one of the roadblocks of dictatorship. And in 2017, he moved to remove the last break that was in our constitution, which was the age limit, thereby paving way for a life presidency. And now he intends to be president for life in Uganda. That is when everything else started rolling back. So General Museveni had some really admirable achievements, but it's unfortunate that by his own hand, his achievements have been undone and rolled back on.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting. Let me suggest to take a last question. There's Vincent Mulindwa on. Can you hear me? Could you ask your question, please? Frau Fröger, können wir Vincent Mulindwa dazu holen?
Do you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now. Please.
Okay. Vincent Mulindes is situated here in Germany, was stayed here in engineer, and I've been also following the Ugandan politics in any way. So what my question are to the president, Ms. Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, you created a program by the name You Vote. This You Vote consists of some constituencies which will help us to follow the outcomes of the votes. Is that now fully complete, done, that you find all the constituencies in Uganda which will be involved in this election? And the second question is, you talked about this age limit. In case you win, we win, let us say, I also include myself in that category. Do you intend to tackle the 2 points which were amended in the Constitution of Uganda, namely the age limit and the time limit of the presidency? And the fourth question, probably for that case, there is an agreement which came at a referendum which was sent by Sempebwa and Odoki some way back, whereby the majority of the Ugandans wanted to make Uganda's political system change to similar to what we see here, a federal system of governance. Will those points be part of your initial points to tackle as far as the next parliament of Uganda is concerned? That goes to the president. Those are my questions, please.
Thank you very much. I think by President, Mr. Wine, he means you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Vincent Mulindwa, and thank you for calling me president, even 48 hours before the election. That I take that as a vote of confidence. About the You Vote application, allow me to inform you that all information has been fixed in it, and all our constituencies are catered for. But most importantly, about what we think should be done to restore our constitution. Indeed, as the National Unity Platform, we agree that among the first things to do is to restore our constitution. Restore our constitution, restore the term limits, because that is we are fighting dictatorship, and the first opportunity we get is to destroy dictatorship and any chance of dictatorship. It is very possible. General Museveni was speaking with so much convincing when he was around my age. So we must move very fast to save ourselves from the trappings of power. Therefore, we need to restore our constitution and ensure that we return the term limits, but not only fix the term limits, but enshrine them in our constitution. And also, of course, the age limit, but most importantly, the term limits, so that not again will there be any other president that will try to be a life president of Uganda. About the other ideas, I don't decide alone as an individual, but we decide as team, but most importantly, we decide with the people of Uganda. Anything as fundamental as the idea of changing the system of government indeed has to be subjected to a referendum so that the people of Uganda decide the political system that they want to have. Therefore, we believe, and we call our movement that developed into a political party, we call it people power, because we believe people power is our power. So the people of Uganda should be having the opportunity to determine which way they want to go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. I think we are at the end of our event. Uganda vor den Wahlen, eingesprochen mit Bobi Wine. This has been challenging in the beginning when we were not able to make contact with you, Mr. Wine, but I think this has been extremely interesting, and I think 160 people who are with us on Zoom and another 1,500 who followed us on YouTube seem to agree. Thank you very much for joining and for making yourself available so short ahead of which must be a very, very challenging election for you. Luisa Amsberg, thank you also for staying. Vielen Dank, dass Sie dabei waren und auch die ersten 20 Minuten so eloquent überbrückt haben. Das werde ich so schnell nicht vergessen. I hope that you all enjoyed this first event the German Africa Foundation organized this year. We hope to have you back on the program sometime soon. And I wish everybody in Uganda a peaceful election day on Thursday. Thank you very much.